Yo guys, so I wanted to come out with this and say, is the Premier League in trouble? And the reason why I'm bringing this up again is to continue on from my last video. I've got a bit more time to kind of go through stuff, and we're going to go through a bit more detail now. So, basically, from the FA Cup charges of the 74 charges that's come out, it stated from about 2009 up to 2016. Is sort of the period they're looking at. Let me see. Do you know what? I'll get up the FA's exact thing right now. So just to have it for reference, 74 charges. Like I said, through the likes of from 2009 to 2022, which the main emphasis is they're looking from 2010 through to 2016. That's kind of the seasons they're looking for. That's where the main events have occurred. Doesn't mean that it's not happened outside of that. I will state that. Doesn't mean that it's not happened. Look, as you say, it goes from 2009 to 2022. So right up until when Abramovich sold the club, obviously because of under COVID and the Russia restrictions was the whole reason why he ended up having to sell the club. So yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what they respond. They're probably not going to put a public statement out until they've decided what they're going to respond to say, so they've got a week to do that, basically just over a week. We'll see what comes out with it. If they make an announcement or a statement, I'll probably come out and say something else. But, so we have this period, and then, let's see, what is the range of the 115? So the 115 says 2009 to 2018. Okay. So yeah, and then the failure to cooperate with Premier League's investigations from 2018 to 2020, which is crazy, by the way. How Man City was just like, Premier League was like, "Can we see your books?" And Man City was like, "No." Like, I'm sorry, but if that happens, you know you're in shit. There's no coming back from that. So I've got the BBC thing up here just regarding this. So obviously this is the BBC, so take this with a pinch of salt. Obviously, because I didn't get the article 115 up, but basically, like I said, 54 failure to provide financial information from 2009 to 2018. This is for Man City. Same sort of timeline as Chelsea. Funny enough. It's very interesting, actually, how that is. 7 breaching of Premier League's PSR. That's crazy, that, by the way. From 2015 to 2018. But either way, right, so what we're going to do, we're going to quickly look through this stuff. So, yep, so you've got the idea of the rough period. 2009 will go to 2022, which will include, like, say, City stuff. How much of a problem is the Premier League in? I think the Super League is going to come back into the discussion, because you think, right, this is what Chelsea has won during this period. They've won 3 Premier League titles. They've won 4 FA Cups during this period. They've won a League Cup, the Carabao Cup. They've won a Community Shield. They've won 2 Champions Leagues. They both go under that. 2 Europa Leagues. The Europa Conference, that doesn't come under because that was last year. You also got the Club World Cup here, which they won obviously in the last after they won the Conference League. Interesting, isn't it? Bloody hell. Yeah. Basically, the Super Cup, the World Cup, that all falls within this. It's honestly, this is crazy if you think about this. So it's one, like, because technically, right, if you get rid of their record, Chelsea has not won a Champions League and a Europa League. And this then comes into the conversation of who is the biggest club in London, I think it ends up becoming. Because before, for me, especially for me and outsiders, everyone, the biggest thing you could say is just look at cups. Look at who's won. Look at the record of trophies. You take this away, Chelsea loses 3. So they go down to 3 Premier Leagues. They go down to 4 FA Cups. It's literally a lot of the stuff goes down by half. Wow, this is crazy. Yeah, literally the amount of trophies that they win in their cabinet goes down significantly. And then, say, for Man City, so this is Man City's, under the period, obviously the Premier League, so basically they started, the 115 started, I said, like 2009 era. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, if you go through the whole period, 8. My God, Chelsea, Man City's been so dominant. I mean, I know they have, but wow. And then obviously the other things that come into it is like, say, the Super Cup, the Club World Cup. You got the Champions League. You got the Community Shields. And then you've got the Carabao Cup again. All of these, it's like Man City's. I am not gonna lie, right? From an outside point of view, this is crazy. But this is something that why it's been spoke about for ages, that the Premier League should have a regulatory body in, which obviously I know a lot of these clubs don't want it because it'll make the finances and PSR a lot different and a lot more stringent and hard to get around. But it will avoid this, because about 15 years now of the Premier League's record is just gone. It's just shambles. And it's not just that, it's the effect that it's then had on the Champions League and stuff. So let's start here. So we'll start in 2009. You got the likes of Man City 5th, Chelsea 1st. So say here, you got the likes of all these other teams that will then have gone up and got different spots. Everton would have had a Conference League. No, they wouldn't even have had that. They would have had Europa League, because obviously Chelsea and City. Well, it's like, this is the effect that this then has. If this actually comes into fruition, that Chelsea's cheated, which I mean, Chelsea obviously knew they cheated. This is not a surprise to anyone. They shouldn't be surprised to anyone that this came out. It shouldn't be surprised to Chelsea fans. It shouldn't be surprised to any fans at all, because the second that Clearlake and Todd Boehly took over, they were very transparent and open, which that is a very big positive, I will say. It's the same with Everton. Everton admitted their wrongdoings, which obviously they got their point deduction very fast. Same with Chelsea. I think that there should be some lenience to say, because at the end of the day, Todd Boehly and Clearlake didn't do this. They came into the club and they said, look, here is all of the transactions, here is all the files, the bank statements, whatever. You can have full transparency, which is amazing. Every club should be doing this. This is why a regulatory body should be involved. But they basically said, look, here's all this, look into it. There are irregularities, there are problems. Because you think, right, Eden Hazard, Chelsea, he's the reason that Chelsea won Premier Leagues and and competing the way he was. Competing the way they were. You think about this, right? Imagine, basically, Abramovich, this is allegedly went over to, say, his agent and was like, here's £10 million, get Eden Hazard to come to us. That then happens, and then Chelsea have this massive dominance because of having, say, someone like Eden Hazard at the club. That is where it becomes a big problem, because, say, those 74 allegations and charges that they've had, if that then comes through that, say, stuff like that happened, because it does say, like, say, third party and did quote on about agents and stuff like that. If that stuff happened, that's a big issue. That's a very big issue, because it means that a lot of Chelsea's stuff, it wouldn't have happened if the likes of that stuff didn't occur. It's a very bad look for the Premier League. A very, very bad look for the Premier League. And like I said, it worries me for the likes of what could happen with the Super League, because I could very much see the Super League coming in. I don't see why it wouldn't, to be honest. If you think the last 15 years is going to be worth nothing, a lot of these teams are going to be like, I deserve that trophy. I deserve that spot. It's all about money. Like, say you think, right? Say Everton. Say if Everton gets they move up spots. Say Spurs, it moved up a spot here, or 2 spots. They're in the Champions League. You get more money for being that. That's why a lot of wages go up by 25% because of the Champions League games and television rights and everything. It's the knock-on effect that this will have to every single club, trophies and everything is crazy. But I will say this, right? This does not mean that any other club has not done similar sort of things, because likelihood they probably have done, which is why a regulatory body needs to be put in place. But at the moment, I will say Man United, I would be surprised if they've done something like this, because they are very much like on the stock market, like their books are readily available. So I could imagine Man United haven't done this, and they've got very organic growth. So yeah, we'll have a quick, like I said, we'll have a quick look through this. But see the likes of that, Chelsea and City, second and third. Again, it's just crazy. Like when you think about the knock-on effect that this could have. Man City 1, Chelsea 6th. Again, look at that. Everton will be going up into Europa League. Obviously, we were where we are. We would have gone up in. Well, we would have been fourth, so it wouldn't make much of a difference. But it's like, it's all of these different things, the knock-on effect and the position that it would put people in the Premier League and the competitions that would then follow with the money that they can reinvest. Like, you think some clubs may have ended up being relegated because of this? It's because you got to think, right? It's not just straight up 3 points. It's not just straight up you move up a spot. Say Man City. Say for example, right? Say this season, right? We say, as an example, I don't actually know the result of what happened this season. Say we lost both games to Man City, and say the likes of, let's just say Villa won both of them, for example. You then get rid of those 6 points and put them the other way. They would then go down to say like 35 points, and say we would go up to say 47. Math, yeah. But like it, which say for example, if that was the case, like, or even the other way, say 47 points, you add it on, people are here, they finish top half the table. It's a massive point jump for nearly every team, and it works both ways and works for every single club. Here again, Man City 1, Chelsea 3rd. It just, like I said, it just puts a blemish on all of these results. Like, even you think about this 2014-2015 season, if you wipe away what happened here, Arsenal technically wins the league. Like, how crazy is this? And what do I want going forward to come out of this? I don't know. I actually don't know, because I don't. Stripping away titles, I think, is probably the most likely. Point deductions going forward, I don't really know. Like, you could potentially be like, every single season they have 15 points less or something, so it means that they won't get relegated, but then they could still maybe get Europa League, European football, sorry. Like, that's a possibility for like a few seasons. I think sending them down to the non-league and stuff like that, I don't think it's necessarily the best option, because that will just ruin the club. Like, you think this, right? If Chelsea or Man City went straight to non-league, every single player would want to be out of that club. The ownership would want to be out of that club. I don't see how the Premier League could do that in goodwill, in good faith, knowing what the knock-on effect that would happen. I think the point deduction is the most likely thing, and they stay in the Premier League with just the inability to basically become Champions League football for them. But yeah, what it means for other clubs as well is massive. That's why I think this is going to have a massive effect on other people. And plus, not to mention, if this comes out, if other clubs come out, like say for example, Arsenal. I'm not saying that this will happen. There's obviously nothing speculation about that at all. Just as a hypothetical. Say Arsenal came out and it had all this as well. More charges towards them during the same period. Again, it's this quote-unquote big six clubs that they wouldn't be in the place that they are today. They wouldn't be the place they were back then. Obviously, before that, of course, they would have been, because they've had natural growth. But now there's so much money pumped into the sport. It's had a massive knock-on effect. Where do I see this going? I actually don't know. I think we need to see. I think at the end of the day, I can probably say with high certainty that Chelsea is going to be found guilty of this because they self-reported themselves. So they obviously know that they are guilty. They found the irregularities themselves, so I would presume that they know themselves that it's wrong. So, say the Chelsea situation, that's going to be huge because, like I said, the amount of stuff that Chelsea's won during this period is crazy. Like, you think this year, like I said, the Champions League and Europa Leagues, that's in this period, all of them. It's the effect that this could have is massive, and it's very damaging on the Premier League. I think this is a terrible time for something like this to happen, and it just shows that the Premier League should have had regulatory bodies in from years and years ago, and no matter what, it shouldn't be to do with a vote whether it should happen or shouldn't. It shouldn't be clubs voting on whether a regulatory body comes in. It should be this says the PGMLO or whoever FA says, listen, right, we are not allowing this to go on without a regulatory body to be coming in to be stringent and look through books, because it's going to have to happen to avoid this from happening in the future. Yeah, either way, guys, I kind of just wanted to go through some of this stuff because some of the signings and everything over this period is crazy. Man City, I can't even go into that because that was all their signings. I think KDB, David Silva, Yaya Toure, like, Jesus, the amount of players that they signed during this period for the 115. I think it puts a massive asterisk on Man City and Chelsea over the period of the last 15 years, which is not good because they've been so dominant. But is there a reason why they've been so dominant, which it appears there could be? Either way, guys, I obviously, like I said, I will let you guys make a decision and I'll wait for it all to come out. I think Chelsea, like I said, they probably are guilty because they self-reported. Like, at the end of the day, if I go to the local jail and hand myself in saying, look, I've just stole 20 quid from someone, they're not going to be like, whoa, no you didn't. It's like, if I've done it and I've seen that, and obviously, yeah, it's a bit different. The City 115 case, again, all it takes is a few charges for that to come through. Depends on what they are. Like I said, the City case is a bit more weird for me because, I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't really have organic growth. They just kind of got dumped. The Sheikh Mansour just dumped a load of money into the club. So yeah, either way, they worked out with a £1 billion stadium from the APT rules, the violation thing. Either way, guys, I'll leave it here, but I would love to know what people's opinions on this are because it's a bad time. It's a bad time for the Premier League, if I'm being honest, and it does worry me as being a Newcastle fan going forward because it makes you worry in 5 years' time what potentially could come out, which I would like to say we've gone back by a different way. Eddie Howe's definitely been a big part of that. A lot more organic growth, but wow. Please don't let this. If the Super League comes out, at least let us be in the competition. Either way, guys, I'd love to know your thoughts, and peace.